What's up guys, Travis with TCustomz Productionz, TCustomz.com. Today I'm answering some of your questions. I'm going through some of the recent comments on the YouTube videos, picking a handful of those and answering them in this video. Just a quick note for those of you who are running your own YouTube channels. I don't know why I didn't know about this before, but there's a YouTube Studio application for your mobile device. Before I was managing a lot of my YouTube stuff from my desktop, but this app is really dope. It allows you to see your analytics and leave comments and all that kind of stuff. I guess I'm kind of behind the times. But anyway, that's what I'm using to go through some of these questions. Just a quick reminder, tomorrow I'll be dropping the TCustomz sound effects kit. Tomorrow is the official early bird launch. The demonstration video will be going up. You get an inside look into some of those sounds and be able to download those directly. But let's get into these questions. Okay, so the first question, this comes from GrizzCuz. Was wondering how you've been finding that AMD processor. Want to build something similar soon. Appreciate your insights on how you found it for production if you don't mind. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, earlier this year I built a desktop workstation. It was an AMD based system. I shot some videos to show all the components that went into it, and I shot a multi-part series on actually putting the machine together. If you haven't seen those videos and you're interested, I'll make sure to link them in the description. But simply to answer your question, I'm finding the processor to work great. Since I put that video up, I've got a lot of positive feedback. I've got a lot of thanks for, hey, thanks for the process. I've got a lot of questions. And I've also got a lot of criticism for the type of machine and type of system that I put together. The intention with those videos was not to say this is the supreme system that you have to build for a music production workstation, more so just to show what components I was using for my system based on my budget, and also mainly to show the process of building a system, especially for somebody who's never built a computer before, just to kind of see and get an idea of maybe what components need to go in to make the system what it is. I've also gotten questions about the budget, how much did I spend on the system, and that was my intention for listing the parts. Because part prices and component prices are changing all the time, technology is shifting so rapidly, instead of just listing prices, I just listed all the pieces. So if you're interested, you can Google search those different components. More than likely those components are a lot cheaper now. My whole thing was to build something within my budget based on my past experience from building computers and past systems I had built, and also get a processor that I was going to be able to overclock, which I'm doing right now with this AMD processor. And so that's the system that I built. It's been working great. I've been running it for about 6 months. I mean, time will tell. It was something that I needed, did the best that I could with the resources that I had. Down the road, I'll reevaluate. If I need something new then I'll upgrade. So far so good. It's definitely a big step up from what I had before, and that's that. Okay, next question comes from Young In. He says, hey Travis, love your beats and videos. Have a question. What Ableton version are you using? Suite or standard? Thanks. So I am using Ableton Suite. Some of your functionality and settings and things are going to be limited with some of your lower tier versions of Ableton. I mentioned in some of those videos, people are having issues. I don't see the sampler or instrument. I don't have this or that. I'm like, well, you need to get a Suite version or a full version is what I've said. But that's actually what I mean by full version is the Suite version of Ableton. So if you're using a light or a standard, with the standard, you can probably still do a lot of the same stuff, but you may not be able to do everything that I'm doing in some of the tutorial videos if you don't have a Suite version. This is a question from Hyphy 2 Pints. I already answered this in the comments, but he's asking how to pitch vocals without distorting them. I've covered this in a past video where I talked about transposing and time stretching. In the particular video you're commenting on, I'm just doing a simple transposition to the samples. A lot of times you'll get distortion. What I call like audio artifacts is when you do a really heavy time stretch. For instance, if you wanted to pitch the vocal up, let's say 5/7 half steps, but you wanted to keep the same speed or tempo, that's going to take a toll on the audio. Depending on what type of warping algorithm that you're using, could cause some distortion in the audio. Okay, this is from Lord Owls or Lord O's. He says these videos are helpful. Can you do a series on drum programming? He was asking for different drum variations, layering drums, when to add percussion, how to keep your beats interesting and things like that. So I've done a number of videos like this, not like a set series on drum programming, but I've talked about layering drums. I shot a video on top 5 tips for banging hip hop drums. I'll link that in the description. I've done some other like little subtle drum tutorials showing you how to get like a suction effect on your snare using a subtle clap, and a number of other videos that I can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, I'm always open for new ideas, specifically with like drum tutorials. So if any of you have any suggestions or input for a drum programming series or any type of drum related topics you'd like covered, let me know. And the last question I'm going to answer today is from Steven. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. He says, hey man, what age did you start producing music? Just wondering if you had any words of encouragement. Okay, so I started making beats in 2006 at the time. I've talked about kind of my history before, where I started in FL for a couple of years and then got into Ableton. I've been using Ableton for probably 8 years. As far as your music production is concerned and just improving overall, my biggest advice is just to continue making music. It's tough when you start out and you're just like a couple months in, or maybe even just a couple years in, and you expect all these big results and make like these high polished, high quality instrumentals like right from the jump. In reality, it doesn't typically happen that way. I say my biggest words of encouragement are just to continue making music if it's truly what you love to do. Don't worry about the rate at which maybe your other beat maker friend is progressing along. Continue pursuing it, ask for critique and help. Take all the input and feedback that you can and use that to improve your music. All right, so that's gonna wrap up today's Q&A video. If you like this style of video and you'd like to see more like this, hit the thumbs up, drop a comment below and let me know. Hopefully this answers some of your all's questions, and I will link all of the resources that I talked about in the description. Again, the TCustomz Sound Effects Kit drops tomorrow. I want to say thanks in advance for your support. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. FX Kit, something that will have very unique sounds, something that you wouldn't necessarily be able to find, say, in a virtual instrument, or even other sound packs for that matter. And so you want to figure out how many half steps between C and A. So you want to start with C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 half steps. So all you're going to do on your virtual instrument or your